and welcome to Pillow Talk with Angela. I'm your host, Angela Stribling, and on this show, we talk about everything relationships, love, dating, marriage. Well, tonight, to that effort, we're going to introduce you to something that I feel has been long overdue. I met this young lady at South by Southwest and was so impressed with her. I mean, talk about an entrepreneur. She's a go-getter and she's such a strong advocate for women. You always hear about the little blue pill when, men need a little extra help being aroused and, just getting themselves together sexually. But you never hear about anything that's being done for women who might need a little extra or, want to try something a little different. I'm certainly no expert on what she has created, but she is, and she's here to tell us all about it. You ever ask yourself the question I'd like to ask you? If there was a little, let's say, pink pill, would you take it? Think about that. Please welcome. She is so amazing, and I can't say enough about her. And I'm so happy that she said yes to my invitation to join us tonight. Please welcome Cindy Eckert.
Angela, thank you. Of course, I would say yes. I'm so impressed with the conversation you always have with your audience because these things make such a difference in our lives.
You're right.
Quality of our life and our relationship. So I'm privileged to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And you're right. I mean, oftentimes, based on, I guess, religion or how people are raised, especially with women, they're reluctant to speak up and say what we really want. And especially as it relates to what we want in the bedroom. Oftentimes, women will just kind of go for it, go for whatever he wants to do and not really be a strong advocate for their own desires.
Mm-hmm. I think so much of what we learn, even young, as women societally, is kind of that pleasure is ours to deliver, but not necessarily ours to receive. And I talk about pleasure that's beyond the bedroom, right? In so many ways, how many conversations do we have about how women put themselves last? After the kids and potentially your husband and all of your obligation, your parents, if you're a caregiver. So I think it's a really important conversation to have because we really have been conditioned to not kind of advocate for ourselves when it comes to this, but it's really important for even our sense of self and our interpersonal relationships.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, yes, we are the nurturers. We're just kind of we're hardwired that way. And society kind of, just as you said, it's kind of said, okay, you have to put everybody else first. You've got to take care of people. And that's fine. I mean, we love that. But we also have to listen to ourselves and take care of ourselves. I want, since people weren't, everybody who's watching and listening, they didn't have the honor and privilege of being at South by Southwest. And, I loved your talk. It was such a limited amount of time. I could have listened to you for hours. And if you could just share with us a little bit about what is your journey, what led Cindy Eckert to, pick up this whole banner and be such a strong advocate for women.
Thank you, Angela. So look, first things first, there is a pink pill for women. So thank you for letting your audience know. And that is really what struck me because I've been in the health field for my whole career. I love innovations that can change people's lives. That's what motivates me every day. I'm a bit of a science nerd, I'll confess. And I was having built and now running a company with one of the male drugs. And you said it in your intro, do you know there's a blue pill for men? Couldn't miss it, right? We couldn't miss it. Even if you've watched the Super Bowl in the last 20 years, we know there's a blue pill for men. And we understand that, we've understand through all of that discussion that sexual satisfaction is important and meaningful. But what we were maybe missing is there was a bit of a subtext of if you're a man, why weren't there any products for women? And that's what struck me. I was struck when there was a really important desire discovery. So a scientific discovery where they looked at brain scan imaging of women who said, you know what, something's changed. in my level of desire. It's not what it used to be. Something's off. They really felt like the switch went out. And I think that switch is your inner light, that sense of, our own kind of feminine power and our sexual power. So for millions of women, they really struggle with this issue. And they said something's off, and it's not my relationship. I love my partner. I love my partner. I'm not depressed. I'm not any of those things, but like something's not clicking anymore in the bedroom. And if you take a woman who has that description and you put her in an MRI, and you take a woman who's like, nope, everything's kind of the same. None of us are on all the time. So desire ebbs and flows, but she's like, I'm good. Take her, take this other woman, expose them to erotic cues. Their brains light up totally differently.
Wow.
Differently. And when I saw that, I was like, it's biology. It's a hardware issue. It's just a hardware issue. This is our biggest sex organ, our brain. And so I thought, we understand that a lot of medications that people take can reduce their sex drive. Antidepressants is the most common one. So if you start thinking, okay, if there are products that can depress your sex drive, then it would be true that I could also create a product that would improve it. And that was the basis of the pink pill. That's the beginning of it. But it really was that lightning kind of struck me when I saw these brain scans, because I think, with men, theoretically, if we talk about ED, you can see whether or not he's got an erection. And so we automatically go, oh, biology, like we'll fix that. But for so many women who I think were going to the doctor and saying like, something's off. Like it doesn't feel the same. Something's different. What we were doing, I think much to, my dismay, is we were patting those women on the shoulder and we were saying, oh, it's normal, have a bubble bath. And it was so unfair when what was happening to them was neurochemical. And so that's the basis of ADDYI. And it's such a joy actually to talk to women and couples who are struggling with this issue when they recognize like it's not about like them or the relationship. It's actually just about a biological issue that we can address.
I love that. And you said the name, ADDYI. So tell
ADDYI.
us about this little pink pill. So
Yeah.
ADDYI, first of all, who can take it?
Yes.
Who's
So
it
basically the condition, so the fancy medical term for it is hypoactive, or that's low sexual desire disorder. So you would be diagnosed with HSDD. The way that a doctor diagnoses that is really what I was talking through. Like, were you once happy with your level of desire or drive? Has that changed? Has that change been persistent? And are you upset by it? If people aren't having sex and they don't care, they would never be a candidate for a medication. But really, when you talk to women who are diagnosed with hypoactive sexual desire disorder, if you look at the statistics, it's affecting them far beyond the bedroom. They're losing self-confidence, that sense of self, body image issues. Even, they really feel often like they're letting their partner down. So these are the words that doctors are looking for to understand this diagnosis. It's diagnosed by a questionnaire. It's really your own experience. And those would be the right patients. So in clinical trials, what we had to prove that we were effective on is three things. Did we increase a woman's desire for sex? As a result, did we increase her number of satisfying sexual events? And did we decrease the distress that she feels with this condition? And that's really important. That's a big piece of this condition, is that they're really feeling bad about it. And sometimes I think that can be mistaken for depression. When women come in and you're at that, maybe you're at that, you have a couple kids, you're not sleeping as well. You're kind of in that midlife. And you go in and you say to your doctor, something's just not the same. Our knee-jerk reaction, unfortunately, is we say, oh, well, I'm just going to give you an antidepressant. And really, if we dig a little deeper and you listen to a patient who's saying, I love my partner. Like, I love my partner. I want to want again. That's the ADDYI patient.
I love that. And is there an age limit? Because I know with the little blue pill, it's typically for men, I guess, who just start not whatever age that it hits them,
Sure.
that they're no
Yeah.
longer able to have an erection. Is there an age for women?
I think it would surprise you to know that our average age is 36. So our
Wow.
average age on ADDYI is 36. We've studied women in clinical trials from 18 to 80. In the United States, we're indicated for premenopausal women today. We are going back to get a postmenopausal indication. In Canada, we already have both a pre and postmenopausal indication, but in the United States, it's premenopausal women.
And when you say indication, does that mean it's a different pill, the one
It
that's
doesn't.
out now?
It just means in our clinical package that the FDA reviewed and approved, that was the grouping of women. So that was the age band that they looked at thus far. So
That's, I mean, are you finding that, honestly, before meeting you, I had no idea this even existed.
yes, let's talk about that. I would.
Well,
I'm so. I mean,
my, my audience needs to know about this. I mean,
they do, and
I'm
I'm
giving you
so.
the address. Just I need to try these out for you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you've had me on to talk about ADDYI because I look at, even when I spoke to the audience at South by, I asked at the very beginning, by a show of hands, how many of you know there's a pink pill for women? And, some of the doctors in the room raised their hand, but not a lot of the women. And it's really, it's puzzling to me because if you think about it, when the blue pill came to market in 1998, it was the cover of Time magazine. That's how important we felt it was for
Yeah,
this invention in women in men's health. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, it was important because we've learned a lot about men's health just because of Viagra. We've learned
right.
about other endothelial function, all of these other, geeky kind of scientific things. So you think, is the reason that you don't know that ADDYI exists maybe again a bit of that societal blush factor when it comes to talking about women and sex. And so I so appreciate opportunities like this because we're trying to get the word out. We've even struggled, in all honesty, in marketing because there's different rules actually online and on television in talking about women's sexual products than men's sexual products.
It's
And
crazy.
that's a double standard that shouldn't exist.
Right.
And we are working really hard to change that. But I ask, just as I asked your audience, now I'm going to ask all of your listeners. Now that you know about it, I want you to go tell 5 of your friends, like, hey, did you know that there's a pink pill for women? It's called ADDYI because it more women than men actually struggle from sexual dysfunction. So
Wow.
if you look at the prevalence data in, studies for decades all across the world, actually more women than men have issues. So I think it's finally we're picking up the mic and we're talking about it because
Good. So it's
there's no shame. I mean,
not at all.
right.
It's something I hope that women are empowered now to
Yeah.
say, I guess go into your doctor and say, listen, I've heard about this. Can we test me? Do you need to get tested to see if you're a good candidate? How would you recommend women
So
go about getting it?
So honestly, it's a questionnaire and it's really as simple as what I walked you through. Were you
Mm,
once happy with your sex drive? Has that changed? Has that change been persistent for more than 6 months? And are you upset? Do you want to do something about it? And then they're, of course, going to make sure, that you don't have any other medication that might be causing this. They're going to want to, hear that it's not a relationship issue. And that's what's at the heart of this, but it's really your own. I mean, it's similar for men. When men go in to ask for the blue pill, they ask for it. They say, I would like to try this because I'm struggling with this area. We don't do a physical test on that. Similarly, you can't do, the physical test here. I think it's just the bravery to bring up the conversation. And you shouldn't be ashamed. None of us would be here without sex. And none of us would be walking this earth without sex. And so it's such a part of the human experience. And I think being connected in an intimate way to your partner. When I was doing this, and I spoke to so many women, and it's millions of women, 1 in 10 women have this. 1 in 10 women have this. When I talked to so many women through the years, what they would say to me is they felt disconnected from the person they want to be most connected to.
Mm.
And that's really so very sad. I've had men and women come up to me and talk about, how this has really affected their lives, their relationships. I got to give a talk once in DC. We both share having been in DC a lot of our life, and I was giving a talk, and I went to the Starbucks in the hotel right after my talk, and a gentleman behind me tapped me on the shoulder. And he said, "I think what you're doing is really cool." And I said, "I'm so
Nice.
flattered. How do you know what I'm doing?" I was so fascinated. And he said, I was the AV guy in the
Oh,
meeting where you just spoke." And I said, "Well, thank you so much." And he held onto my arm, and he held onto my arm, and he said, "I've just gotten divorced." And I said, "I'm so sorry to hear that." And his eyes welled up a little bit. He teared up and he said, "I never knew that it could be something like this. I always thought it was about me." And I thought in that moment, I heard the partner's perspective, where he
mm,
really felt like, his wife was never interested. She was not in the mood. Not being in the mood led to, I'm sure, resentments and issues in that relationship. And he really took it like she no longer wanted him. We're all pretty egotistical with our partners. We want to be wanted by our
yeah,
partner. We want to be desired. And
right,
when he understood that for his wife, it was neurochemistry. Like, it could
right.
well have just been neurochemistry. And had she known and been able to get help for that medically, it could have changed that outcome. I mean, I saw the pain of
Yeah.
him cycling through that in his mind. And, that's why I think it is so important to get the word out.
It's so important to get the word out. I love that story. And you're right. I mean, she didn't know, so he didn't know.
Right.
And it's a good question to go ahead and just ask your doctor. So, short of us going into our doctors and saying, "All right, I heard about Addie, and
Yes.
I typed it here, I put it there." That's the right spelling, right?
ADDYI. ADDYI.
Okay, all right, let's fix that.
Add
Uh,
your interest or add your intimacy is a good little trick to how to remember how it's spelled. So ADDYI.
ADDYI. While I change this,
While you're doing that,
tell us.
Angela, I should say, you can certainly go in and speak to your doctor. We'd love that. A lot of doctors also, not dissimilar to the question to the audience, some doctors don't yet know about the little pink pill. Doctors get very little actual sex education, unfortunately, in medical school, and they're human. And sometimes they have a blush factor, which is why they might not bring it up with you. They might think it would offend you if they bring it up with you. So it is really important to advocate for yourself. But knowing that, one of the things that I thought was important was you can also go through telehealth. So with a doctor licensed in your state who is an expert in this, in these ADDYI, sexual medicine, women's sort of sexual health issues, you can go through that, and you can go through that on our website, ADDYI.com. It's a third party. You'll leave our website to a network of doctors, but it's a network of experts who can talk to you about it. So you have that option as well if you want to do it from the privacy of your home or your couch because you don't want to say it out loud to your doctor. Know that you have that option as well.
I love that. And for people who, I mean, some people don't have doctors. Some
That's right.
people, do insurance and,
That's
just
right.
do the independent route.
That's right.
Telehealth, telemedicine is very helpful for a lot of
Yes.
people. I can
And by
just talk to
the
you.
way, when you go through that, we do fight for insurance to cover this. Insurance has covered the blue pill and the male pills for years. So we see really good insurance, which means it's only $20 a month for women. If your insurance doesn't cover it until they do, I'm going to work on them and make sure that they do over time. It's never more than $99 a month out of pocket. So if
Oh,
you're having to pay cash.
that's so good. Short of that, how else can we help get the word out?
I think it's about having this when you're out with your girlfriends or even in your relationships. I have so many men. When I was at South by, I had this lovely photographer. I was at Inc. magazine giving a talk, and he was shooting me, and he said, "Hey, how do I talk to my wife about this?" And he
Yeah.
said, I don't want to make her feel bad. I don't want to like be, it's in no way like she needs to do this for me, but I
Right.
want her to hear this because I think she's really struggling. And again, he used those same words, like she's talking to him about, the light going out. And I think there is an inner light to our sexuality and how we walk into a room and how we
Yeah.
feel about ourselves. And
Confident.
I said to him, you need to say, I heard this woman in pink talking about this thing, because it's a non-judgmental way, I think, for us
Exactly.
to say it to friends and say like, hey, I just heard this thing. And, even with your girlfriends, we can joke a lot about sex, but probably just by the numbers alone, 1 in 10, by those numbers alone, somebody in your circle is actually struggling with this in private. And you saying
Exactly.
something would make a big difference for them. You could really
Good.
help.
Oftentimes, I say in the show when couples are listening to the show together,
Yeah,
it might
yeah,
be an easier way to start the conversation,
that's right.
just like you said, versus somebody feeling picked on or judged or singled out. This is a real thing and it's very common and there's no shame at all in
That's
it. The shame is in not doing anything about it.
yeah.
The
You know,
fact that now we know that this is out here, it's like, why not give it a
that's
shot?
that's right. And I think give our either it's ourselves as women grace, or
Yeah,
in a hetero married relationship, our partner grace, that
yeah,
it could be something outside of their control, that they could get help with, and you could be a real support in that. This will surprise you. Maybe you know the stat. How many marriages do you think are sexless?
a lot of them based on conversations I have with people.
One
Many.
in 1 in 7.
Wow.
1 in 7.
Big number.
And I think that's really, look, if that's by choice, if that's between the two of you and you say, doesn't matter to us. But I think, really, if you think about that intimacy with the partner, that's what distinguishes them from everyone else in your life, your coworkers, your roommates, your friends, and everything else. And I think really very little of that is by choice. I think it's because probably something is going on. And either, there needs to be medical intervention because it's something that could be helped, or there is the therapy intervention. And I think those are
Right.
such important things to talk about.
I agree.
So I love that you have this conversation with your
Yeah.
audience.
I do too. And you're right. Oftentimes people just alleviate the sex. As women, it's not just about the physical. We need
It's
to
not.
be getting along emotionally. I need to feel respected and safe and all that other stuff. And
Right.
short of that, if everything else is in place, then yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it's something that you need to look into it. Either
Mhm.
way, I'm so happy for you. I love the fact that just really pushed to make sure that this was accessible to
Thank you.
everybody. Because, I remember your story of you sold it, they shelved it.
I know. I've had a crazy story. Not only, my starting point where there were 26 drugs for men and not a single one for women. If something was going wrong in the bedroom. That didn't make sense, especially when we had the science that said, it's hardware. It's in the brain for women, right? It's not blood flow, it's brain flow.
Yeah,
So once we understood that, then there was this path, and that was a long path because I was in conversations with humans who had to sometimes get out of their own way and their biases about like pleasure for women and what's important and what do we value. And, finally getting that, I sold the business, as you said, Angela, and then they'd never launched it. They literally, we worked so
really
hard. Finally, 26 for men, one for women, just one. We have a lot of room to continue to improve. And then they put it on the shelf. And so I went, like
crazy.
pulled my boots back on, or my pink stilettos in my world, put my pink stilettos
There
back,
you go.
and went to work and got it back, and now have launched it. But it's about, getting the word out, and we're growing. When women know we exist, The letters we get in from women and everything are exactly why I did this in the first place. So even my ambition is to help lots of women, those 1 in 10 who are suffering, but every single one counts to me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
That's wonderful. Thank you for all that you do. And however we can help you get that word out there, we are here. But in the meantime, let everybody know how they can connect with you, like social media or however.
Please. So first, the drug is ADDYI, and you can go to ADDYI.com, ADDYI.com. Like I said, you can directly connect to a doctor licensed in your state from there, if that's your decision. You can find me at Cindy Pink CEO, the pink pill. I'm always in pink. So Cindy Pink CEO on all social channels. So I'd look forward to connecting with your audience.
That's wonderful. Cindy, thank you for your time. I know everybody got a lot out of what you had to say tonight. I know I did too. So keep doing what you do and we'll stay in touch with each other. We'll come up with something. We'll come up with
I love
some
it.
about pillow talk, pink pill.
Yes, I'm here for it, Angela. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Wow, Cindy Eckert on Pillow Talk with Angela. That was really good information. And you know what? Just like she said, what's the harm going to your doctor and just having a regular conversation about what's really going on with you and your sex life and ask for it. You've got the spelling ADDYI. I don't think there's anything wrong with going ahead and telling your doctor what you want. Thank you for watching us tonight on Pillow Talk with Angela. This has been amazing. You're going to hear this conversation on the radio on 96.3 WHUR, of course, on Sirius XM channel 141, on B-Spire TV, on AAPRC radio networks, and on Jam 98, Music for Your Soul. Yes, we are growing, and I'm so excited about it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.